deserve this. Do it. No one is watching. So who's making the decision? Or the last situation, imagine that you're about to do something, you're about to do something, and you feel like this is too hard for me, but suddenly you feel energized to do the good, and it becomes easy for you. In all of these four situations, Imam al-Ghazali gives us a great explanation. He said, in us, there are four forces that are making decisions for us. And you will be the one you're feeding. He said, there is in us the animal desire, like the one that does not resist food. If this is not controlled, if this is not checked, it will be making decisions on your behalf. There is the anger inside us. If not under control, it will make decisions for us. And there is the satanic voice that if not managed well, it will make decisions for us. And there is the angelic part in us that if we feed, it will inspire us to do good. So this is the message of fasting. How is fasting related to this psychology of who's making the decisions for us? Fasting does something amazing. Fasting gives superiority to reason over the desires. And we practice it throughout the whole day time. In fasting, your body is saying, I want food. And you're saying, no, wait until sunset. I need water. And your reasoning is saying, no, wait until sunset. So in fasting, you're disciplining and training the nafs to let reason master the desires and let that force guide you. So in us, there is that angelic, wise, reasonable part that should be leading. And if that is leading, you will be making the right decisions. Why do we make wrong decisions? Because that reason or the wise part in us is not empowered. In fasting in Ramadan, we empower that angelic part in us. That is why fasting is about what we do not do. If you check any books of fiqh for a definition of fasting, they say that fasting is abstaining from eating and drinking and intimate relations from dawn until sunset. So fasting is defined by what we do not do. And this is very powerful because fasting is more about empowering you to say no. To say no to the immediate gratifications of desires. This is so powerful. What you're doing is a moral revolution. But the problem is we're doing it out of habits and culture. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbih." Whoever fasts Ramadan, driven by iman, faith, not culture, not social expectations. It's the iman that really drives you to observe the fast. So what I am trying to say is, Ramadan is helping us let reason master the desires. When you can achieve that, you will be able to say no to the immediate gratifications of desires. When you're able to do that, you're the king. You're really the king. Because they say, Al-Malik man malaka shahawatih. A true king is the one who's able to govern his own desires. This is true kingdom. When you can govern your own desires, you're a king. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. This is when you become the master, the leader. Once you're able to govern and control your desires, you're the king. And the Prophet ﷺ, this is not just philosophy class. The Prophet ﷺ said, in us there is a mudgha, a flesh, that if sound, the whole body will be sound. And that is the heart. And if corrupt, the whole body will be corrupt. So Ramadan is training us to let the best in us lead. So it's important before we observe the fast to understand what we're doing. It's not just not eating for a while and then at Maghrib you overeat. That goes against the whole concept of fasting. It's about controlling, it's about self-restraint. It's about letting reason and the wise part and the angelic part lead. So in us there is the wolf, there is the shaitan, there is the angel, and you will be the one you're feeding. You will be the one you're feeding. And again, this is not philosophy. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said, if we do not stop foul language and saying bad things, then Allah has no desire in you staying away from eating and drinking. Meaning it is an exercise to control these desires. Once you're able to control the desires, you're free. You can make conscious, mindful decisions. And this takes me back to the question I started with, who's running the show? Who's making your decisions? You make a lot of decisions and it is not you because you're not happy with it. You regret these decisions. You made the decision subconsciously without thinking. So something in you made these decisions. And that is why you have to be aware of these 4 competing forces in you trying to make decisions. So there is the al-quwwa al-sabu'iyya. There is that beast in us that gets angry, that's more about the ego, I, me. It is good that we have a sense of that because it makes you defend what is true, stand by the side of the weak. But if not governed, it will lead to even death. We hear about road rage. People kill each other because of an instant of anger. So that force has to be managed and under check. There is a part of us that is the animal part that Imam al-Ghazali compared to the pig. That is the one that wants to eat and it doesn't matter what you're eating. So that has to be also under check. And there is the shaitan part that is trying to do what? To do tazyeen of the munkar, beautifying what is wrong, justifying what is wrong. And this is the most dangerous step in normalizing any sin. The shaitan will give you justifications for committing the sin. And that is you know that it is wrong, but there is a voice in you that keeps saying, why not? People are doing this. You deserve this. Take a break from this. Do that. So trying to do tazyeen, making the haram look beautiful and justified. So the only fine force that should be leading is the aql, or the wise part in us. Because Allah gave us the aql so that it would guard us from the ways of the shaitan. That is why, do you know what the word aql literally means? You know the thing you use to lead the animal, the reins? That is called in Arabic uqal. It comes from the same root of the word aql, because you use it to direct the animal to go right and left. So aql is what actually restricts you from doing the haram? What keeps you away from doing the haram? What leads you to do the halal? So keep that concept in mind. And I'll close with one experiment that also proves this whole topic. It's about the power of saying no. The power of saying no. It's called the marshmallow experiment. Did you hear about it before? So a group of scientists in Stanford University, they have that experiment. They would have a child in a room, and the child is offered one marshmallow to eat. But there is another deal. The child is being told that if you choose not to eat this one piece of marshmallow and you wait for 15 minutes, we'll give you two. And they leave him alone with the marshmallow. It sounds very tempting. And they watch from the outside through the cameras. Some kids did not resist the temptation, could not resist the temptation, and they were satisfied with eating it right away. Some other kids know how great the reward is, and they were able to stay for 15 minutes, and they were congratulated and given one extra to eat. The experiment does not stop there. This is a long-term experiment. They tracked the school performance of all of these kids until they finished college. And they found out that the kids who resisted the temptations and waited for 15 minutes, they did a lot better in school, and they got higher grades. And the kids who failed to control themselves did not do well in school, mostly. Subhanallah, and this is exactly what we're doing in fasting. This is not marshmallow 15 minutes, this is 15 hours. You have the food in front of you, and your body is saying, I want this, and you're saying, no, wait until sunset. There will come some challenges, and you see the haram, and you say, no, wait until you get married. You have your card, and you buy things that you want, and it's not necessarily what you need. But if you learn from fasting, you can say, no, I will wait until I have cash. This idea that we're living in is very sickening. I mean, you have everything and you do not own anything. That is, for me, I do not buy that at all. You have everything and you do not own anything. When it is done excessively and it becomes an obsession, it's really, it leads to depression once you lose your job or you don't get your paycheck, everything collapses. Ramadan comes to teach us to say no to the immediate gratifications of desires. And this is one of the greatest blessings. You might think, oh, it's too hard for me to say no. No, you were able to say no to basic things that you need for survival, eating and drinking. You can say no to drinking. You can say no to alcohol. You can say no to smoking. You can say no to all of these destructive habits. You have Ramadan, and your fast proves that you have the potential to do so. So do not belittle yourself. But that comes with determination, reliance on Allah, and connection with the community. Imagine if fasting is done on our own. How many of us would fast? But fasting is done on a communal level. We meet at Fajr. We meet at Maghrib. We meet for suhoor. We could even meet after break. So this idea of gathering makes fasting possible. There are some people from different religions, different traditions. If they were just able to bring their congregations to fast 1 or 2 or 3 days, that is a great achievement. But Muslims can easily fast. Why? Because it is determined, It is focused on Allah, and it is done as a communal work. That is why we cannot grow spiritually in isolation. We grow as a community. So always attach yourself to your community. Attach yourself to your masjid. When we worship together, all of us grow together. It's not about, oh, that I love that speaker. No, this is not entertainment. It's not the deen and the khutbah, it's not for entertainment. Believe me, if you're coming to listen with the intention of receiving guidance, wallahi, you will be guided, and you will learn and understand things that even the speaker did not mean. So you can understand better than the speaker. Why? وَلَوْ عَلِمَ اللَّهُ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا لَأَسْمَعَهُم. If Allah knew good in you, He will make you hear something. And this happens to me. I would be giving a talk and someone would say, I like the idea when you said this. And for me, wow, this is a great way of putting it. I didn't think of it this way. So people who listen sincerely do not come to listen for criticism. He mispronounced that word, or he missed that hadith, or I heard something better than this. No, you're coming for hidayah. You're coming for hidayah. This is not entertainment. Be attached to your local masjid, your sheikh, just sitting together and saying together, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, serves that great purpose of being connected with Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all guided, Allahumma ameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not deprive us of the blessings of this month, years after years after years. May Allah guide our kids and make them the apple of our eyes and qurrat ayn for all of us. Allahumma ameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallim wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. If you have any questions, yes, I am ready to receive your question. No, you need eating for survival. So these desires and these forces are not bad in themselves. They become bad if not controlled, if not well managed. Even anger, you need anger. You need anger is not necessarily something bad. It is bad if it is not constructive, if it is not well managed. I cannot say, to be a good Muslim, you can never feel angry. No, anger is a human emotion. It's like happiness. If you want a definition of anger, anger is a human emotion that varies in intensity from disappointment to rage to being furious. So anger itself, the key word in the definition, it is a human emotion. So it is valid. But the problem is not in anger. The problem is managing it. The problem is in managing it. That is why some of the mushrikun at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, said, Ibn Umar went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, those people of Quraysh, they say, do not write down things you hear from the Prophet, because he speaks when he's angry. Sometimes he speaks when he's angry, so do not write everything he says. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Uktub فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ مَا خَرَجَ مِنْهُ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ." He said, write down what you hear. By Allah, nothing comes from my mouth except the truth. So the point is, the Prophet ﷺ didn't say, write down everything because I don't get angry. No, he said, write down everything because nothing comes out of here except the truth. Meaning, anger would not keep the Prophet away from saying the truth. That is why the Prophet ﷺ had hilm. You could feel the anger, but you manage it. You're about to say, words are already loaded. You're about to say it, but you take it back. Who's making that decision? The wise part in you. But if these sharp words come out before you think it, that means this anger is making decisions on your behalf. And it is what is leading you and what is making decisions for you. So fasting is more about answering this question, helping us answer this. Who's running the show? If Muslims understand this concept, fasting will be a healing practice for them. I have these 4 forces, and in this month, I'll make sure that the wise part in me is leading, not the angry part, not the animal part, not the satanic part. So in all of us, this is why human nature is complex and complicated, because we have these competing forces and they are making decisions on our behalf. Someone could say, what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam when the lady tried to seduce him? In Surah Yusuf, it describes 2 things. استبق الباب and معاذ Allah. Basically, know and run. Know and run. That is a quick decision. Who's making that decision? It is the wise part that Yusuf has been feeding. But if you're being tempted and let me think about this, يبقى عليه العوض. If you give it a thought, this is the wrong response. Something makes the decision automatically. So I always say this example. When do you have insurance for your house? As the house is burning down or long before? Long before. You don't have insurance when you get the problem. You have it long before, so if a problem happened, I am insured. So same thing, it's not you're learning how to respond. The response has to be already set. You go to the setting, know and run. That has to be activated. If a problem, God forbid, happened, my answer is know and run. استبق الباب. You know, they were running, racing, and she pulled him back. So he said no, and he ran. معاذ الله يعني no. واستبق الباب يعني run. No and run. If that is not clearly part of the setup in your mind and in your heart, it would be very difficult. But this is again part of what? Of the 4th force in us. That is the wise part, the angelic part in us. That is why on the day of judgment, no one is having an excuse. Many people say, the shaitan made me do it. No, the shaitan did not make you do it. The shaitan called you and you answered. And this is what the shaitan would be saying on the day of judgment. ما كان لي عليكم من سلطان. I did not have any authority over you. إلا أن دعوتكم فاستجبتم. I called you and you responded positively. So the real shaitan is the nafs. Imam al-Razi said this in his commentary in Surah. He's not denying that there is shaitan and there is whispering, but he's saying, sometimes we blame the shaitan for everything. The shaitan is saying, come, and you said, yes, I am coming. So why we're not excused? Because there is an angelic part in you that says, come to the masjid. And you have been doing what? You silence that voice over and over and over again until that voice is almost hard to hear. It's hard to hear. And you have been feeding the voice of the shaitan, and it becomes louder. So we're not excused. Do not tell me the shaitan did. No, you come to Jum'ah and you hear the sheikh saying, do this and do not do this. That is part of the angelic part in you that needs to be activated. So Ramadan is activating the wise part in us, the reason leading the desires. If the desires are leading reason, we got a disaster. So your reason is leading the desires, you're free. If the desires are leading reason, meaning your desires are making decisions on your behalf, that is the disaster. This simple idea about fasting, I believe it should be mandatory for all Muslims to understand and meditate on and be part of their preparation, because this is what fasting is all about. Fasting wants you to focus on Allah, sharpen your focus on Allah in an age of distraction. It's not just staying away from food, and it's not starvation. That is why there are many Muslims who are exempted from fasting. Right? If you're old and it is hard for you, or someone is sick in specific conditions, or even someone is traveling for more than maybe 50 miles and it is hard for them, there are excuses. It's not starvation. It is for those who are able to. So why? Because this is more about a spiritual practice, to sharpen your focus on Allah, to detach from these things that are trying to hold you away from Allah, and to engage in salah and dhikr, and for a month, so you empower the wise part in you. Any other questions? Now, our ego is, one of the big problems in human nature is some people want to be little God. They want to, and this is the ego part that wants to have dominance, supremacy, control. They get angry. They want to show off. They want to be controlling people. This is and this could happen to someone who's religious. And this is and that is why there is a difference between the ma'asiyah of Adam and the ma'asiyah of the shaitan. For Adam, it was a desire. For the shaitan, it was arrogance. So it is easier to survive a desire problem than to survive arrogance and pride problem. And arrogance and pride is something hidden. It is something hidden. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَذَرُوا ظَاهِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَبَاطِنَهُ. So when it comes to sin, there are hidden sins and there are outward sins. Sometimes we keep focused on the outward sins and we judge people accordingly. And we could be doing great, but deep down we're arrogant. Deep down we're arrogant. That arrogance is part of the ego. In nafs al-ammara bis-su. In nafs al-ammara. And in our Muslim tradition, there are 7 levels of that nafs. There are 7 levels of the nafs. The nafs, the self, the lower self. There is a nafs al-ammara bis-su, the nafs that commands evil, and there is a nafs al-lawwama, the self-blaming nafs. It's on and off, and it blames itself when it neglects a religious duty or does haram. And this is a good level. and there is a nafs al-mulhama, the inspired nafs. And the more you are inspired to good, you reach the fourth level, which is an-nafs al-mutma'inna, the serene nafs, the nafs at peace, meaning there are no conflicts between worship and sin. No, I am into worship. There is no struggle. You know, the struggle was in the self-blaming nafs. It's on and off. And this is a good level. Never give up if you are on that level. Why? Because if you give up, you go down to the evil commanding nafs. That is why the Quran says, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم. I do swear by the self-blaming nafs, meaning it is something great. But why would the nafs, the self-blaming nafs, a great thing, even though it could sin? Because it is still, it sees the good as good and the bad as bad. You know, we live in an age when bad is actually sometimes described as the good. And if you're not having a girlfriend, you got a problem. Yeah, you're smiling, but I have people who are telling me a lot about this. This is a type of ghurba, or being morally strange. What about after? Is there anything after the serene nafs? There is al-nafs al-radiyah, the self, the pleased nafs. One nafs al-mardiyah, the nafs that Allah is pleased with. And the last one is called an-nafs al-kamila, the complete nafs, which is the nafs that is not only good in itself, but can make others good as well. There are some people when you sit with, they soften your heart, they can change your character. So, and this is the nafs of the prophets and the awliya and the saints and the righteous people throughout the ages, who can change people just by as you're present with them. These 7 categories of the nafs, there is a great spiritual program for improving yourself and moving from one to another. And this is usually done under the direction of a sheikh who is fully aware of this. It's really bad that this concept of a sheikh who is murabbi, leading people spiritually, is almost absent in the last 100 years. Absent does not mean it doesn't exist, but it's not the common thing. Some people say, oh, this is bid'ah, this is Sufis, this is... But it has been always the case throughout the Muslim ages, that as you have someone to teach you swimming, to teach you fiqh, you have someone to take care of the health of your heart. So this is what our history is about. If you like to argue with me later, we can argue. But this is, if you want to deny this, you're free. But one of our big moral problems is the missing of that spiritual guide, who himself reached that level of these high levels of the nafs and is qualified to lead people to the way of Allah. It doesn't have to be a tariqa or a murshid or ma'arafsh ish. It could be your local imam who is very interested in this topic and he understands. This is almost psychology. I mean, when I read Imam al-Ghazali and Ibn Ata'illah and all of these scholars, this is great psychology. And this is an emerging part of psychology nowadays. There is a Muslim Cambridge school, so there is a focus on Muslim psychology there, and a lot of work came from that initiative. نعم. طيب, any other questions? Perfect. طيب, الله يبارك فيكم, and thank you very much. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
خير خير خير. الله يجزيك خير يا رب.